So on the tank itself, there's threaded nuts that are embedded into the plastic tank, like they're melted in there. And so those nuts are what you screw on the top of your sending unit to clamp it down in between the gasket and the tank. But those threaded nuts are the wrong thread size as compared to the new hardware that was sent with the new sending unit. Okay, so we've got that here. We're gonna pop open the ray cores and take a look at the filters in there. And he's got a little clear plastic bin down there to catch anything that pops out.
Okay.
That looks pretty clean.
We have an O-ring here, and there's no breaks in our O-ring. Looks good, no grit on it. Okay. We've got a little bit of dirt on our lid here, so we want to clean that before we put it back on. So let's make sure that's good and clean. Wipe it off real good.
You want a towel?
Yeah. Since we don't have any dirt in our O-ring, we've no use in getting it in here.
Yeah.
That looks good. And we're also looking at our seal here. We've got another O-ring in here. That looks pretty good. I don't know if our little kit came with an O-ring or not. You want to look, Matthew?
Sure.
See if it did. If we don't need it, we're in good shape.
Yeah. So this is the new filter assembly that we bought, and it looks like there's an O-ring here, right here on top. Yeah.
Yeah, these crazy filters do not necessarily always come out nice and easy for you. Set that lid right there. Come on. Okay. I have a little pick over there, Matthew. If you can hand me a pick out of one of the bags, probably.
Yeah.
Or if you've got
I've got one right here. Remember these? How useful have those been?
Yeah, here we go.
$3 picks.
Life's best investments.
That actually doesn't look too bad.
No, it doesn't. Let's get all the, not all as much diesel run out of there as we can. And then every one of these are usually a little bit different. Sometimes they don't have this little spacer piece here. So if you pull yours apart and it doesn't have this little spacer, what that is for is it hugs the filter on the side so that your filter goes down nice and smooth and stays there. Once you put all your bolt down and everything, it's going to stay anyway. But it just acts as a guide. And like I said, some equipment, some filters, they won't have that. I don't know what ours has, Matthew. Okay. I am now ready. That looks good inside. I'm going to take a little more visual. Yeah. Now what I'm looking for is any big particles or anything like that that might have gotten by or might be in our filter system. And we are all pretty clean, but I can see some stuff down here in the bottom.
In the bowl?
In the bowl part. So we will look at that next.
Okay.
Maybe.
So the other thing that we're doing is gonna pull off the heat shield. The little metal piece here is basically a heat shield. So
So we're gonna pull that off and
hopefully if there's no diesel that falls down.
okay, I'm gonna get some.
Oh yeah, diesel is falling out, huh?
I imagine it's gonna drain the whole thing here,
Yeah.
which is gonna pretty much fill this little container. So we get a good grip on the container. Oh, okay.
There it goes.
I know. That's why we had this container.
Yeah.
And there's the drain right here.
Okay.
Could have definitely drained it right there with the drain hole.
But look at all that junk that's in there.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit in there.
Yeah, well, even in the
But
that
you
part
see how
that we-
much came out.
Yeah,
too.
that what came out. Yeah, that's gross. We can definitely clean that up better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
get your bucket ready.
All right. Yeah, so we've got some carburetor choke and throttle body cleaner. And so instead of taking that whole bottom bowl off back there, we'll just spray the cleaner in it
There,
to,
you can see the dirt there.
yeah, see all the dirt up in there. So we'll just spray that clean with
Steal your light here.
yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, that looks way better. Cool.
Of course.
That looks pretty good.
I think it is. It's gonna be fun. Oh, I get one more little shot this direction. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you did a good job.
Yeah, that did great.
So that way you don't have to take it all the way apart.
Yeah. So we'll basically just repeat the process on the other one. So this set of Raycor filters has a little vacuum gauge in the middle, and Dad saw that it was all corroded and full of garbage and probably is not working because of that. So we're just gonna unscrew it and try to order a replacement. So the vacuum gauge is cool because when your primary filter starts getting gummed up full of junk, the vacuum gauge it'll create more suction from the engine because the engine's like starving for fuel because the fuel can't get through the filter because it's all clogged up. So the vacuum gauge will show you, it's kind of a indicator if it's sucking too hard, and that way you can kind of know that your filter needs to be replaced.
Yeah, and there's a set point in here, it looks like, but it's jammed on that set point. Somebody, you know.
Oh, it's all full of like debris too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, why don't you hand that to me and I'll start getting a replacement on order.
yeah. I think we might, yeah, because I'm going to have to put it
Look
back
at that.
in.
It's like salt in there or
Because
something.
it's going to siphon off all the fuel.
Yeah,
So I have to have
isn't
a
that,
plug or
that's
something.
gross.
But
Well,
take your
the
information off it, take a couple pictures, and then hand it back, and I'll put it back in.
cool. Yeah, it's like
Oh, man,
there's
look at
salt
screw
in
tight.
there. Look at that. That's so weird. Weird. Why would there be salt in there? Okay, this is not salt. It's silicone, because I don't know if you can read that little fine print down there. It says silicone dampened movement. But, so yeah, so there's silicone in there for some reason. I don't know. There's probably an explanation for that, but that's what's rattling around, not salt. So we're working on the second filter. We just pulled off the hole. And look how gross it was inside there. Ooh. Now we're just gonna run some diesel through to kind of rinse it out, wash it through. Yeah, kind of do that a couple times. Okay. So another tip for you guys is sketch it out. So this isn't related to exhaust. This is my deck fill for the fuel tank. So I have to have a deck fill to actually get fuel in our tank. And so the deck fill, the fill pipe is right there, 1.5 inch. So one of the things that I like to do is just kind of sketch out the situation and then try different versions. So like there was a version here, similar version up here, but slightly different. And then ultimately I settled on this version too. So and then I wrote down a shopping list for this version, and then I wrote down a shopping list for this version. Ultimately I settled on this version. We'll see if that actually works. It has fewer fittings and fewer points where the hoses connect to each other. So fewer places that things could break or pop off or whatever. So that's why I went with that version. But it's less flexible for how it can be installed, and we have kind of a unique situation down here with like our angles and stuff, but I think it'll be okay. More to come on the vent hose later, but just wanted to maybe suggest writing out a little diagram and trying it a few different ways. One thing that I like to do too is when I'm sketching out my diagram, I also kind of do some Google searches on the fittings that I think I'll need and visit some websites where they sell trusted marine things so to see what's available, see what's even out there. Like, am I making up fittings in my head? Like, is there an NPT male to a hose barb male? Yeah, there was. But yeah, you wouldn't really know that until you kind of sit down and do your searching. So I felt it was important to sketch this out and create my shopping list as I was sketching. So the other thing too is once you settle on a design and you kind of know what fittings you want, shop around. Like, prices can be pretty drastically different. Like, Fisheries had a fitting, and then I went to Go-To Marine, and Go-To Marine was like half price. McMaster Car had a valve that I needed, but it was like $60 more expensive than Fisheries. So anyway, yeah, just some tips. And yeah, so we'll keep going, keep reading, keep brainstorming, keep jotting down notes. Speaking of notes, so I do keep notes of like tips. So I know we have a 3-inch hose from the elbow. ABYC standard says that the hose must be stamped either with this code or this code. If you have an R1 in your code, there's no little wires in it to reinforce it. If there's an R2, there's a with wire. So Nigel Calder here recommends with the wire if you can if you have enough space to manipulate it, it's just not as flexible, but it is more rigid. And so with the demands of an exhaust, you kind of want your hose to be structural. Double hose clamps at all connections, minimum of 1/2 inch bandwidth, T-bolt hose clamps preferred, and then all 3/16 stainless steel, including the bolt, nut, screw, band, so forth. So I like just writing down notes like that. It helps me remember, and then when I'm creating my shopping list and looking at my diagram, I know, okay, I need 16 hose clamps because there's 8 connections or whatever. So anyway, yeah. So we'll just keep sitting down here in my hole, listening to the birds and enjoying the warm weather and sketching things out so we have a safe, reliable, marine grade ABYC approaching exhaust system. Keep going. Okay, so check this out. 1 win and 1 fail already. So again, doing my studying and my diagramming, trusting good old Nigel here and a good old boat article. So the first thing, we'll talk about good news first. Good news is they mention that this hose here, this one right here, has to be at least 4 inches or more, 4 or more inches. We got that, so we're good. Their justification is that this should be 4 inches before it gets injected into your exhaust. So we're good. We got 4 inches. But where we are bad is it's real bad. There's no anti-siphon lube. So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing the water line of our boat is probably like right here, somewhere around in there. Could be a little bit lower, but essentially that puts this hose here either right at or just above or just below the water line. So that means we need an anti-siphon loop from 6 to 16 inches higher than the water line. So first thing I wrote down in my book to do was I had to find our water line. So we'll do that in a later stage here. But I got to find the water line. Step number 1. Step 2, I'm going to mark that water line somewhere here in the engine room. So if there's ever a question or we need to refer to it, we always know that that's our water line. Now that's going to change depending on like the buoyancy of the water, how heavy the boat is, stuff like that. So salt water is more buoyant, or things that are in salt water are more buoyant. Things that are in fresh water are less buoyant. Brackish water about the middle. So it's never going to be perfect. And this is the at-rest water line. So we're a sailboat. We're going to heel over. We're going to be in the ocean. Things are going to pitch and roll. So it's never perfect. We'll just go with the at-rest water line. So this hose, although it's more than 4 inches away from where it needs to be, it actually needs to have a anti-siphon loop that comes up here, like probably mount it along the wall here, so it'll come off of this, come up, and then back down to here. So yeah, so we did one good thing with our 4 inches, but one really bad thing, because we don't want any siphons. So the siphon would basically it brings water unintentionally through your hoses, through your pipes. It could be from your exhaust if you get like a falling C. It could be from your raw water intake if your like impeller breaks or cracks or has an issue. There's all kinds of different reasons that you want to avoid siphons, so you have to put in anti-siphon loops. So we'll put that on the to-do list. That one's pretty important. So yeah, just thought that was interesting, and we'll keep going and taking our notes.